Episode 44. Steven, how are you?
44 double fours.
We're 6 away from 50.
That's
We need
crazy.
something cool for 50.
Yeah, we will. We're
up
going
with
to do
something.
something cool for 44.
Are we?
Of a celebrity.
Celebrity. That's right. Here in studio, a celebrity, an A-lister who has been seen on CBS. Is that right? I think it's on CBS.
K-Pax.
K-Pax.
Yep.
Okay.
Jeopardy.
It's amazing.
Amazing. We have here in studio from Dillon, Montana, Allison Strekal. Is that right? Does that work?
It's pretty much, yep.
Pretty much?
That's yep.
How do
Yep.
you say your last name?
Strekal.
Oh, okay. Just how it looks.
Just like it
Allison
looks.
Strekal.
Yep.
Dude, thanks for coming in. This is
Thanks for
awesome.
having me.
This is so great. I'm
Thanks
so
for-
excited.
Yeah.
Steven, I don't know if you know the backstory and how we got here. One day on, I think, our Instagram, Nick, our producer, saw that Allison liked our page and was like, I don't know what it was, something clicked on it. And he messaged me and said, hey, Allison from Missoula, who was on Jeopardy, just liked our Instagram page. And I said, we need to get her on.
Mhm.
And reached out. And like within minutes, she responded and said, I'm in, let's do it. And so here we are, the
Here we
most
are.
famous guest we've had yet.
Yeah. So, okay. I got a first question, actually. Allison, how does one prepare their whole life to be ready for the call for Jeopardy? So what happened in your life that you're like, I love trivia. I'm good at this. Take us back to the beginning.
Yeah. So I come from a trivia household. My dad is a high school history teacher. So naturally, trivia just seems to happen. So grew up every night watching Jeopardy. And I vividly remember like making the game board to go along with the game. And so, I'd make the squares and I'd try to like tally up my money. And it always moved too fast for me to actually do that. But
Sure.
lots of Trivial Pursuit on Friday nights. That was what we did.
Like the old version?
The old version from like the mid 80s.
Oh.
So this was like the mid, and I'm like, I have no idea who these people are. Like lots of questions I've never heard of. But I'm an only child, so it was just the three of us. And since my dad was a teacher, we would spend summers together, and he would literally just ask me trivia questions. Like if you remember those Brain Quest games, like the flashcards.
Those were amazing.
Right? So like lots of those, he'd give me worksheets to do. Like it
The-
doesn't sound
the
very
answers,
fun.
The
but
answers just stick. Like as a
they-
kid, like you
yeah, they do.
recall?
So people have asked like, how do you remember things? And I don't really know. Like I don't have a
It's
good
just there.
answer. But I did hear Ken Jennings, my hero. He talked about on another podcast, like someone asked him, how do you remember all these things? And he said, well, I'm just naturally curious about these things. So it's not like a chore to learn it. Like I'm genuinely excited to learn new things. So I think that helps to stick. But so growing up, watching Jeopardy every night, my dad is just asking me questions randomly. Since he was a high school history teacher, when I had him for AP US history, we would play like a Jeopardy game in class every week that he like subscribed to the service. But I think he let me play it for maybe 2 weeks. And after that, he was like, you have to be the scorekeeper because you get all the questions right. So then I couldn't play
Crazy.
anymore, which is a little sad because I like to win. So,
That's
So were your classmates like, did they like you or were you like too smart? They're like, we don't want to hang out with Allison.
oh,
No.
that's kind
No,
of like
I
a deep
know.
question.
I know, no,
I think they liked
No, I'm
me.
sorry. No, but that's the joys of being a teacher's kid, right? He's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you get
was
all that.
school a challenge for you, or was it just school come
It's
easy?
usually,
and
yeah, it's come pretty, that always came pretty easy.
Yeah.
Math, not so much.
Sure.
Math, chemistry, those ones were always a little bit harder. But the history, the English, those are my favorite classes.
I want to come back to the Jeopardy story, but let's start with your story. Allison, where are you originally from? How'd you end up in Missoula?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about you.
So I was born in Dillon. My parents met in college in Dillon.
Steven, that's
God's country.
That's right.
Yeah.
But my dad got this high school history job in a little town called Winnemucca, Nevada. So when I was 2, we moved from Dillon down to Winnemucca. It's about 2 hours north of Reno, right on I-80. It's in the Johnny Cash song, I've Been Everywhere. So maybe you've heard it there.
Mhm.
But if you've driven from Salt Lake to Reno, you're going to go through Winnemucca. Then I went to college in Reno. I met my husband there my very first weekend in college at a house party. So that was almost 20 years ago.
Took care of that real quick.
So that was easy. And then after I graduated from college, we lived in Reno for about 15 years. But my summers growing up were always spent in Montana. You know, my dad's from Dillon, Twin Bridges. My mom's from Butte.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he retired from teaching, they moved back here in 2016. So then our summer vacations were always spent up here. And my husband was the one who really wanted to move to Montana. And I was like, I don't know if I can live in Montana in the winter.
Sure.
Never done it.
Sure.
You know,
Summers are nice.
Summers are great. This is great. But in 2021, we were driving back to Dillon from Great Falls on one legs of our summer vacations. And it was so nice. And I finally said, okay, fine, let's do it. And we didn't want to live in Dillon. It's a little too small. And we love Missoula. So we made it happen.
Were there jobs lined up, or did you just start looking?
No.
It was just...
So I just started looking, and I happened to find an ad online for Missoula Aging Services. I worked at a nonprofit in Reno doing development. And so I saw the development director job, did my interview. It went great. Did my in-person interview the week we came to look at houses in October 2021 and loved it. It's been a great organization to work for. My husband was doing online learning for the University of Nevada. So like helping instructors get their classes ready for online delivery. And he really wanted a career change. So part of the reason we wanted to move was for him to do something completely different. And so we moved into our house. The person who we bought it from had forgotten to get the sprinklers blown out. And being from Nevada, like we don't have to do that there. We don't know what that is. Like I have a vague notion of what that is.
Sure.
So he happened to be outside when the guy came to blow out our sprinklers, and it was the owner of Sprinkler Maniac, and they got to talking, and he said, "Do you want a job?" My husband's like, "I don't know. I've never done anything like this," but he said he decided, "Yes, I'll do that." And now he's in his third season doing sprinklers, and he loves it. So yeah,
That's
complete shift for him. But yeah, that's kind of our Missoula story.
No, I love that. I love that. Everybody's got a unique journey that finds themselves here. What did you go to college for? Were you going to be a teacher or?
No. So I wanted to be an anchor on SportsCenter. I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. And so I went to the University of Nevada because they have a great journalism school. Like it is, 2 hours from where I grew up, and I got in-state tuition and got, my school all paid for. But they have a really good journalism school, and the school actually kind of recruited me and like took me on a tour and did all that. So I wanted to be on ESPN. That was what my goal was. My hero still is Scott Van Pelt. So that's what I wanted to do. And so I went into Journalism 101. And after we did like our section on print and broadcast, I was like, actually, I don't want to do that.
Really? What was it?
I don't really know. I've thought about it a lot. Like, I think that, I don't know. It was a little different than I thought it was going to be. The guy who was the advertising professor at the journalism school was a really nice guy. And we had to interview somebody like for one of my first classes. And he, like I had met him at a networking thing, like when school started. And so I went and interviewed him, and he was like, "You should really switch to advertising because there's a lot more jobs. You won't have to like go live in, Sioux Falls, South Dakota for 2 years and then go, making $18,000 a year."
Sure.
And so I switched over to advertising. So I still have my degree in journalism, just with an emphasis in advertising. I did get to work in sports though. My first job out of college was for a minor league basketball team in Reno. So we were a member of it was the D League at the time. Now it is the G League.
Yeah.
And we were the Kings affiliate team.
Okay.
And I worked there for 5 years. And by the time I left, I was the president of business operations.
Wow.
Yeah. I was the only female doing it. I was only 25.
Wow.
And then I decided I don't want to work 120 hours anymore a week. And so I went and worked for an events production company. And then from there, I went to work for the nonprofit in Reno. And then that's how I got into the nonprofit field. So
as a kid, outside of Trivial Pursuit nights, did you have a interest in sports? Were you playing sports, or where did this desire to be around sports come from?
So like when you ask that now, I think like we were a trivia house and a sports house. So my dad was a football coach, baseball coach, just sports was a thing. And then I got really good at sports trivia too. So that's just something I've always been interested in. I am not very athletic, much to my dad's Disappointment. Great disappointment. When he would throw the ball at me, I would let it hit the ground first before I would catch it. So, I played like t-ball, little league, soccer, basketball, never good at any of them. The day before I started high school, he came home from like a teacher's barbecue. And he's like, hey, Allison, you're going to play golf. Because I talked to the golf coach and you're going to go play golf tomorrow. And I was like, oh, I am? Like, I've never swung a club above my head. Like, I've mini golfed. And so I played golf 4 years in high school. Won a state championship my sophomore year. Yeah. I was not.
She says she's not athletic.
Yeah.
State champion.
I'm really
state
not.
champion.
Well, let me tell you. So there's 6 girls on a golf team.
Sure.
And you only count 5 scores. And so my sophomore year when we won state, I was the number 6 golfer.
But you're on the team.
I was on the team, but also at state, if we would have had to count my scores, we still would have won.
Okay.
We had a girl on our team who was like literally the best high school golfer in Nevada's history. She was really good.
Carried you.
Yeah, she like consistently shot like 68. Like she was really good.
Okay.
And all the other girls are shooting like 120, 130. So
What was it like working for essentially the NBA, G League? I mean, what?
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
I love the fast-paced environment of sports. And every game is an event, and to see fans who are so excited. My last season there, we averaged like 160 points a game
Fun.
because we were running. It was called the System at the
Yep,
time.
I know it.
So Grinnell, Iowa, is where our coach came from.
Mm-hmm.
And so what he would do, so that's like a D3 school.
Mm-hmm.
What they would do is like literally shoot a 3 every play or a layup. Like if you shoot a mid-range jumper, you're out. And then he'd sub out 5 at a time and full court press the whole time. So very unconventional for the NBA at the time. This was 2014. So right before the Warriors won their first championship. And like now that concept is not so foreign to the NBA because the NBA has changed so much. But like at the time, the players were like, what am I doing? I don't want to do this. But very exciting to watch. Like we had a player make like 13 threes in a game one time. And then that got picked up by the national media, like Dan Patrick and Reggie Miller were talking about it. So we got to get the player on with Dan Patrick, which was so cool for me because I'm like, oh, it was Dan Patrick. Like he was my childhood idol,
That's
so
cool.
yeah, it was really cool.
So are you a Kings fan?
No.
No.
I'm a Lakers fan.
Really?
So it really was kind of hard to work for the Kings because, they're
rival.
heated rival.
Crazy.
Yeah. So huge Dodgers and Lakers fan.
How did you become a LA sports fan?
So my dad is an LA sports fan. I don't know how he became that. Maybe something about growing up in Twin Bridges, Montana. That LA like appealed to him.
Crazy.
It's like glamorous, right?
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So he's a Rams, Dodgers, Lakers, all that. So it's just how it happened. It's just like been passed down to me.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway.
Okay, and before we get into our burning 7 questions, tell me the shift from you said you didn't want to work 120 hours, but there must have been something else. Well, maybe there wasn't that made you shift into the nonprofit. And what were you doing nonprofit wise? And yeah, tell us about that change.
Yeah. So after I worked for the basketball team and I went to work for an events production company. We did 400 events a year, which like high-end weddings at Lake Tahoe, corporate events, nonprofit events. And so I was doing the nonprofit gala for the hospital foundation on the event production side. And then that job opened up. And since they knew me, that's how I got into the nonprofit world. But really love it because I get to raise money to help people, to make a difference in the world. So I did the hospital foundation nonprofit for about 5 years doing, gala, golf tournament, smaller cultivation events, working with our children's hospital a lot, which was great. And so that was how that shift happened.
Got it. You loved giving back to people and helping people.
Feel like I'm making a difference and making the world, a better place. Yeah.
Absolutely. You ready for the questions?
Let's do it. Go for it.
Hit it. Question number 1.
Allison, what is your first initial memory of Missoula, Montana?
Oh, that's right. I forgot to think of this one. Okay, so that Montana Club on Brooks Street?
Yes.
So it used to be the Heidel
House? Yeah.
Yes. And so I remember coming as a kid And I thought it was like the coolest thing ever because there was like
Yeah.
a giant salad
Salad
bar.
bar?
And I was like,
Do you remember
charge.
the giant aquarium?
Yeah.
It's like this huge fish.
I was like, this is like
Yes.
the best place ever to come. So I always love coming to Missoula, like
amazing.
with my parents as a kid. And I was like, we got to go there
That's so great.
because it was like the coolest place as a kid.
That's a great memory for all the
Yeah.
old time Missoula people.
Were you over there?
I
As
never
the Hide
did.
House? No.
No, it was always Montana Club, but I've heard so
Yeah.
many people
Stories.
talk
It's
about
great.
the Hideaway
Yeah.
House.
Yeah.
What is your go-to coffee spot, coffee shop in Missoula?
Black coffee.
Black coffee. Cool.
Restaurant. Favorite restaurant.
This one's harder, but I think I'm going to go with Guild.
Mm,
We're there usually every Friday night. And
really?
Yeah.
Playing the video games or just
sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes. My husband really likes Street Fighter and he has beaten it a few times. So I don't love that as much, but I'll watch him. And
You're
say,
upstairs.
"Good
He's
job."
downstairs.
Yeah.
Amazing. What zip code do you live in?
59808.
All right.
We haven't had a lot of 808s
No.
on here.
No, that's where
We
the
gotta be
city's
more diverse.
expanding.
Yeah, it's
There's
true.
some
We're
more
growing up.
stuff building
Yeah,
out
there's
there.
going to be a
Crazy.
lot more.
Yeah.
I was just down Mullen the other day, and the roundabouts just keep reproducing.
That
It's-
has been a game changer, I will tell you. So I live in 44 Ranch, and so you turning from George Elmer onto Mullen, turning left in the morning was like you're taking
You
your life
couldn't,
into your
yeah.
own hands, right? But now that there's a roundabout,
Pretty smooth.
it's great. It's so wonderful. Yeah, it makes it so much better.
What is the weirdest thing about Missoula to you?
So I don't know if it's like super weird, but it's just interesting, like how each neighborhood is like its own city, and they all have such different like characteristics. Like the university neighborhood, then the slant streets, which are just weird in general, like and confusing. Especially this area we're in right here, very confusing. But then like Higgins, if you follow it, becomes this like 80s strip mall like town, which is so funny. And then where I live, it's like a ranch community. So it's just funny how each neighborhood is its own little like unique personality.
What do you love the most about Missoula?
I love the community. Everyone is so friendly. Not being from here, it's been really nice to be able to make friends. We go to like the dram shop and they know who we are. We go there a lot. So that's probably why they know who we are. But it's just been, the community's so nice and everybody's very friendly, and love Grizz games too. Those are the best. Just love the community here.
Cool. And last question, has there been a book that has specifically made a huge impact on your life,
Yeah.
or maybe that you give as a gift? most
Yes,
often?
both. Atomic Habits by James Clear, my favorite book, life changing. It's just got so many nuggets of wisdom. I love that one.
Amazing.
Yeah,
All right, Allison, we've done our best to be as patient as possible, but we have to talk about Jeopardy.
I can't believe it.
Let's go.
Taken this
Let's
long.
go.
Yeah.
The real reason we're here.
Yes.
How'd you get on Jeopardy? How'd that start? Let's go to the beginning.
Sure. So I have been trying to get on Jeopardy since I was 18, because that's when you can become like on the like adult version of Jeopardy, right? Not the teen tournament or college tournament. And the first step is to take an online test. It's called the Anytime Test. It's 50 questions. You get 15 seconds per question and you type your answer. You don't have to type in the form of a question. You just type your answer, and spelling doesn't count. And so usually you can take it once a year. So I take it once a year.
So what? Oh, whoa, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Did you feel the pressure?
No, because I had kind of forgotten, it's time to take the Anytime Test. I think I got like an email reminder like, hey, you can take this. And I was working from home that day. I was in my dining room, and I was like, I guess I'll just do it. And so I did it. And every time I've taken it, I'm like, man, that was like hard. But after this one, I was like, I think I did okay actually on that. And then I kind of forgot about it. And then I think it was about 2 months later, I got an email that said, hey, congrats, you made it through to the next round. And that's never happened before. So that was very exciting. The next round was on Zoom, and it was another 50 question test where you type your answers. And there was like 20 other people on it. And I was like, I don't think I did that good, but we'll see. Because you don't like get to know the answers too of the questions afterwards. And like you can kind of remember some to look them up, but it's going so fast that I usually don't. So after that, I think it was only like a week or two, I got another email that said, hey, congrats, you made it through to the next round. And so this was the final round, and it was on Zoom with 9 other people and a producer from Jeopardy. And so they divided us into groups of 3, and they put up a game board and like had us pick clues and had like get a pen and act as your clicker. Like, can you call clues? Can you answer in the form of a question? Can you keep the game going? So I was like, okay, that went great. And they said, okay, now you're in the contestant pool, and it could be 18 months before you hear from us. And if you don't hear from us, take the test again, and then you'll, keep going. So I did.
Like hundreds, if not thousands of people are trying to get on the show.
Yes.
Wild.
Lots of people try to get on the show. And so that was in June that I did my Zoom audition. And then I didn't hear anything for almost 8 months. And I was like, well, I guess I didn't make it. Right. And I was sitting at work, and I remember it was really cold in our building. There was something going on with the heat. So I had to like work up in a conference room where it was warmer. And I got a call on my phone, and I didn't answer because I didn't know the number, right? I don't ever answer.
Exactly.
Why would you do that?
Yep.
And the voicemail said, hey, Allison, it's Karina from Jeopardy. Like, I just have a few questions for you. Can you call me back? And so I called her back, and she said, yeah, we want you to be on the show. Can you come down in 5 weeks? And she gave me, the details.
Where's come down? Where do they?
They film in Los Angeles, in Culver City.
Okay.
At Sony Pictures Studios on the Alex Trebek stage.
Nice.
So all very cool. So I had about 5 weeks where I knew I was going. So it was a lot of, now what? How do I prepare to be on Jeopardy?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you do you study? Do you begin
So I started studying. The Missoula Library is a wonderful resource. I don't know if you guys remember eyewitness books, like the kids' picture books, essentially. So those are really good to study because they're super high level, and there's a million different topics like Judaism, Islam, the history of India, the Wild West, inventors, chemicals, like so many different subjects.
There's so much out there. The trivia could be anything. How do you know?
You don't.
Yeah.
So a few people ask, like, well, they tell you what they're going to ask you, right? Or they give you topics to study. No, they could literally ask you anything. And so the first time I went on the show, I was feeling like, oh my God, I have to know everything about everything. And so it's really overwhelming for me and kind of scary. But those books were great, doing other encyclopedias. There's a website called Sporkle that they have like random trivia, like quizzes about everything. So I did a lot of geography, did a lot of Shakespeare, a lot of art. I thought about things like I don't know a lot about, and tried to like learn like a basic level.
Just enough to be dangerous.
Exactly. Yeah. But then also some things I'm like, well, math, like it is what it is.
We don't have enough time.
I'm not gonna do that. And then there's another website called J Archive that has every Jeopardy episode ever. So my husband would ask me like questions from that, because they're not going to like repeat clues, but like maybe you get an idea of like the types of questions they ask, and like the format of questions. So that was super helpful too.
Take us through the day. You get there, the episode, all of what that on your first time.
So really scary. Really tense all day. They film 5 episodes a day. So I was episode 4 of the day. So you get there at like 7:30, and then you're basically in the studio the whole day, and you don't know when you're going because it's all random. And there was like 13 other people there with me.
Going into that day, do they give like other contracts? Like, are you contractually obligated to say like, how do they have stylists? Do they dress you? Do they tell you what to wear?
So they send you like a mood board, like a vision, like here's outfits you can wear, like don't wear this kind of thing. Yeah, they like prep you, like bring 5 outfits in case you win, right? So you've got to change your clothes. So they do all that thing, and then you like sign something, right? Like I won't cheat, or like I don't know anybody on Jeopardy. I've never been on Jeopardy before. Those like kind of normal things. But yeah, so day of, you get your hair and makeup done, which was cool, but not like much. They just do like a little touch up on you. And when I filmed the first time, we were still kind of in COVID rules. So I had to take a COVID test ahead of time. And then like we were kind of separated out. It was definitely like more restrictive than the second time I went, just with like COVID regulations. But yeah, so when it's your time to go, you get mic'd up, and then so before we film any, you get to do rehearsal. So you get to go up at least and be on stage and like practice with the clicker, like practice writing your name on the screen, like practice with the game board. But like the studio is what you see on TV. It's that size. It's not very big. There's the game board. There's like a little platform behind each podium so that the contestants are the same height.
Everybody's always the same height.
Yeah. So they like raise and lower you.
Whoa.
My game, the one guy I played against was like 6'7". He was huge. So like I was super far off the ground, and they're like, be careful, don't fall off. But yeah, once you go, like it's time to film, you're on stage and they count you down, and then it's time. And they like tell like, okay, clap for the host when she comes out. My host was Maya Bialik, and I totally forgot to start clapping when she walked out, because I was like in my mind, oh my God, I'm on Jeopardy, right? And then I was like, well, I can't start clapping now because it's gonna look weird. And so I just like I just kept my hands in front, and I was like, hopefully no one noticed.
It's funny. Did you meet Maya prior to recording?
No.
So the first time you saw her was when she came out.
Literally walked around the corner.
Crazy.
So yeah, so that was, and then once you start playing, it's so quick. It's kind of a blur. Like you don't really remember the questions. You don't remember the categories. It's happens really quickly.
Mhm.
You do take like those few breaks between, but it's still like, it's super quick.
It's happening quick.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel like the questions lined up with your knowledge? Did you feel really good about it?
Yeah. So the first game, I played really well. I got, so that website JArchive gives you your stats for the game too. Like how many did you get right? How many did you get wrong? And that first game I got something like 22 right out of 60, which is really good. So I was feeling good, right? I was up by a lot. Going in, there was one category left on the board, and I had something like $17,000. The guy in second had 5,000. And there was a daily double left, and I had control of the board, but I wasn't like thinking about that, right? Because you're not thinking about that. And so I started at the top of the category. The category was about canals too. I'm like, okay, canals. And then the guy I ended up losing to, Suresh, he got the first 3 right, and then got the daily double, bet it all, got it right. So going into final, I was only up by like 5,000. It wasn't a runaway game at that point. And then the category was business history. And I was like, okay, great, sure. And prior to filming, because, you see the category of final, and then you get to make your wager and then the clue. And I was like, well, once I know the category, I'll just think of all the things that I can think of in that category, right? And so business history, literally the only 2 things I could think of were Coca-Cola and IBM. Like that was all I could think of. And then I forgot how to do math during final, because like it was like a complicated, since I was only up by like 5,000, I had to like do math to figure out the wager, which was math's not my strong suit.
Always comes back to get you.
It does. So I was like, and my legs were literally shaking because I was so nervous. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I was so nervous. And then the question comes, and I can't remember the exact phrasing, but it was something like, established in 1601 in what's considered the world's first initial public offering, this company was founded in this current European capital.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Europe.
So the answer,
London.
so I said, I
Lloyd's
guess
of London.
Lloyd's
I
of
guess
London.
Berlin.
Okay.
Well, that's a really good guess. It's Amsterdam because it's the Dutch East India Company, which like, of course, now that I know that, of course I know that. But yeah, I had no idea. And so I just wrote something. And so the guy I lost to, Suresh, he did know it. Like he told me randomly, had just read that in a book like 2 days ago. So of course, right?
That lucky man.
Yeah. So anyway, like we leave the stage, and I told this story during my second Jeopardy episode. Suresh literally said sorry because I had been up by so much. And I was like, I'm really mad at you. And I like punched him on the arm too. But he's a really nice guy. Like, you know,
Sure.
But
So how much did you wager? You had a 5,000 lead.
Like $8,400. Okay. It was enough to like cover the difference of what he would have had to bet.
Sure.
Because he bet just enough to like beat me by $1, right?
Okay.
So I got second place on that episode. So I won $2,000.
Won $2,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was on Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Is there a strategy to Jeopardy? Is it more than just answering?
Yeah. So there's a whole, which
quiz?
I didn't know going into my first episode, which I'm kind of glad I didn't. There's a whole like school like of how you choose clues, like the bouncing around, which a guy in the 80s started. His last name is Forrest, and it's literally called the Forrest Bounce when you go from clue to clue to clue. But like was popularized by James Holzhauer. Like
is that getting the competitors to think differently and
well,
get
you're
off
just
certain
messing.
topics?
So, like,
or?
say you're good at a certain topic, but then you're gonna bounce around, right? And then also like starting with the high dollar clues so that you have as much money as possible if you find the daily double, because then you can bet more. That's why like now you'll see people start at the bottom and then bounce around.
Gotcha.
Which like I didn't know any of that going in.
Sure.
Which is fine because I didn't,
You were just going $100, $200.
Yeah, which, that was a mistake, but it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, so later that night, we were at the hotel bar and I was talking to another gal that I had played with, or she had gone episode before me that day. And she was like, oh, we all think you're a lock for second chance. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, sounds good. I didn't know what that was, but I didn't want to be like, what's that?
Well, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to go.
Yeah.
What's that?
So I, we got back to Missoula. I'm disappointed. And then I'm sitting at work one day and I'm like, what is second chance? And so I Googled it, and it's a thing they had started the previous season for people like me who like maybe played really well and were up until the end and then like missed a daily double, or like they got final wrong, so they ended up losing, or they did really good against a multi-game champion, which the guy I lost to, Suresh, ended up winning 6 games.
Oh, wow.
He was in this year's Tournament of Champions. Like he's a really good player. And so I was like, oh, I could be on second chance. That is a thing. And so that was really nice because then I had this like little kernel of hope that maybe my Jeopardy story was not over, which was really nice. But then the writer's strike happened and that delayed like everything. So normally I think they would have filmed Second Chance in like August. And so I knew it was a possibility that I could go back. So I kept studying. I wasn't studying like as intensely as I was before, but I was like, well, I should keep up, right? And so I'd still do like the practice games and still check out the books from the library. I had this one book on the British monarchy checked out for probably 12 months straight. And I might buy it. It's a really good book. Like, it's just really interesting. So anyway, the writer's strike delayed things, but I was, again, at work. I was in a meeting with one of my direct reports. It was Halloween, I remember. And I see my phone start ringing and it says Culver City, Los Angeles, or Culver City, California. And I was like, oh, excuse me, I have to take this.
It's Mr. Jennings.
Yeah. And it was Jeopardy. And so they said, like, we'd love to have you back for Second Chance. Can you come down beginning of December? And of course I said yes. So then I got to go back for my second chance.
And was second time around, was it easier? Nerves, more calm, you knew what to expect?
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Type?
So it was much more fun. There was only 9 of us on my day because they were doing like a little mini tournament. So 5 episodes total, 3 people play per game. And then the 3 winners of that will then play 2 additional games. And the cumulative points winner then goes on to like the next round of the tournament.
Wow.
So it's like, it was a smaller atmosphere. Everybody had been in my shoes where they had lost on final. One lady had made like a wager wrong and ended up losing. And so they had all been, we could commiserate together, right, with how we had lost on Jeopardy, which was super fun. But they're all so smart too. Like, it was kind of intimidating, like how smart these people were and how quick on the buzzer they were. So it was really cool to be able to like be in the same room with them. And then my second game, Ken Jennings was the host, which was so much fun because he's the GOAT, obviously, and just a super nice guy. Very, approachable and like a genuinely nice person, which was very cool too.
Did you get any one-on-one time with Ken? Were you guys able to interact or?
You know, you do like a photo with him.
Yeah.
And then like he does your little anecdote. So not like a ton.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the times we did interact, he was very nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how'd game 2 go?
So game 2 was a complete opposite of game 1. The 2 guys I played against, John and Long, are brilliant. Like, Long said answers to questions, and the words he said, I've never heard that word before in my life. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So I was I was fighting for my life up there. I felt like John was so quick on the buzzer. We ended the first round, the Jeopardy round, and he had like $14,000 and I had like $2,500 and Long had like $2,000. And that was like a record for the season. He was just so good on the buzzer. And so I was like, oh man, like I'm going to get blown out in this game. Like this is not how I thought this was going to go. Right. Like I'm excited. I'm ready to win. So Double Jeopardy starts and I'm like, okay, like let's just do the best I can. Right. And the first category on the board is the Constitutional Convention. And I was so excited to see that. I don't know if you guys are excited about the Constitution, but it was very exciting.
How much do you know, Stephen?
I'm a history major and not very much.
Yeah. So
you were ready. Your
yes,
dad had prepared you.
I'm going to give you another anecdote. So I got the call on Halloween and then I went to a conference in Washington, D.C. that was already like on the books, right? And so I was like, oh, I should stay an extra day and go to some museums and get some studying in. And the one I went and saw the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, which number one, so cool.
So cool.
But then it came back around to help me. So anyway, I got a question right. So then I had control of the board. And so I was like, I'm going Constitution. So Constitutional Convention, $2,000. And it was the Daily Double. And so I had like $5,600 at that. So I had to make it a true Daily Double to try to catch John because he had so much money. And so I got to say, I'm going to make it a true Daily Double, which was so cool. And then I got it. The answer was the New Jersey plan, which
of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep,
like it's what
Mhm.
Established the Senate to give, representation based on equal representation, not based on population. So
That's what we were all yelling from our
Yeah.
living rooms.
Yeah, we knew
New
that one.
Jersey plan.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that was cool. So I got that right. And then I still have control of the board. So then I go to episodes of the sitcom and it was the other Daily Double. So I got both Daily Doubles back to back. And so I didn't bet all my, maybe I should have bet it all the second time, but I didn't. So I bet like $5,000 and the answer was The Nanny, which I've never seen The Nanny, but one of the clues said like, where's Fran? And I was like, well, it's probably The Nanny, right? So I got that and then I got a few more. So then going into final, I was leading again by like $800 and the category was brand names. And I'm like, okay, well, I have a degree in advertising. Like that's cool, right? The wager was a little easier because I was only up $1,800. So I'm like, I got to bet it all except for like $1 because I'm either going to know it or I'm not going to know it.
Right.
And I didn't know it. The question was originally introduced in 1961 and called fruit scones. This product rebranded to reflect an art movement of the time.
Fruit scones.
Art
movement.
I don't know any art movement, so that's going to be trouble.
No clue.
No clue.
It's Pop-Tarts.
Oh,
I know.
Of
I
course
know.
it is.
I know.
I love Pop-Tarts.
So anyway, I didn't get it.
Did the other guy get it?
John did not get it. Long ended up getting it. So Long won. He had this like great comeback.
Where did Long come from?
He came out of nowhere. So anyway, yeah. So John didn't win. I didn't win. I guess Fig Newton, which I knew was not right, but I was like,
That's a solid guess, though.
I was like, I gotta write
take pride
something,
in that.
right? And then John guessed corn pops, so he was at least in the pop art.
Sure.
He had that part right, but
Whoa, what a game. I felt like I was there.
yeah, right.
I would have gone like Fruit Loops or something.
Yeah,
just
that's
way
what I
out there.
Yeah,
Just
and I even like went through the art movements in my head, right? And I was like, expressionism, modernism, like, and I just, even if I would have like thought pop art, I don't know if I would have connected it because you're just like so.
Is there a live
fast, right?
audience?
Yes.
Jeopardy?
Yes.
So does it feel intense? Like when that
Yes.
when that Jeopardy music kicks in and you've got your
Yep.
Was it 30 seconds?
It's 30 seconds.
30 seconds to answer that. I mean, that time's got to fly by.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
intensity.
And a few people have asked, like, do they play the music in the studio? And I'm like, I don't remember. Like,
You're
I
like
think so.
Rolodex
but
in your
Crazy.
head trying to figure it
yeah,
out.
I don't remember.
Did you form any new relationships? You stay in touch with anybody from the show?
Yeah. So a few people from my first film day, and then the 9 of us from my second day, I'd say have like, we like each other's Instagram posts. We're friends on Facebook.
Sure.
Would love to like see them if I'm in their cities.
Yeah.
Just some really cool people and a really cool community now
So
to
did
be part of.
this second chance, did that put a period at your Jeopardy career, or is there still?
I think probably
You feel good about it?
unless they're, well, yes. So after it was done, I was like, yep, I played well. I'm proud of the game I played. I had way more fun than the first time. And so I'm fine with this. But, if they call me back,
You'd go.
I'd go again.
Is your husband much happier that you're not at the library and having to study all the time? Or was that fun for you guys?
Yeah, it was fun because he has a master's degree in history.
Oh,
And
wow.
so like, he likes that stuff too. If there was a World War II aircraft category, like I would have crushed that just because of him, like osmosis from him.
Sure.
There wasn't, unfortunately.
So total winnings between 2 episodes?
$4,000 because I won
$4,000.
2,000. I ended up with 3rd place in my second one, but they had upped the prize money. So I $4,000 from
That's
Jeopardy.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's
Amazing.
great.
yeah,
How fun.
Is your dad so proud of you?
yeah. He was very
like all
excited.
of his work.
Yeah,
It was happened. in
yeah.
you.
So we were in Dillon a few weekends ago, and I had not watched my second episode again. Besides when it aired, we did a watch party at the Dram Shop for it. And so my dad had me break it down. Basically, we did the film breakdown of it, right? Because
Such a coach.
I love your dad.
That's what he
That's
does.
awesome.
And so he, pause it. What were you thinking here? Like, tell me what was going through your mind. So yeah, we did that, and it was fun to watch it again.
So from the time it was recorded to aired, did you have to keep quiet?
Yeah, I can't
You
tell.
couldn't?
Yeah, I can't tell people what happened. Obviously, my husband was there, and we had friends come in to watch and be in the audience, so like they knew what happened.
And you're not buying private jets or yachts.
No. Unrelated, I did end up buying a new car last spring, like in between my filming and my air date. So I think people were like, oh, she definitely
She
won.
killed it.
But
That's
it just
awesome.
was unrelated. Like
That's
I was going to
awesome.
buy it anyway. But yeah, I think people were like, oh, she definitely won.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So what's next for you in this trivia journey? Are there other aspirations?
I don't know.
Shows, competitions?
A lot of people have asked, like, okay, what show are you going to be on now? And I don't know. Like, I'm not a wheel person. I'm not very good at wheel. That wasn't what we watched growing up. So I don't know. Jeopardy's kind of like the pinnacle of trivia.
Yeah, I think everybody
You've done it.
Yeah.
you're really intelligent. Everybody, it's kind of intimidating. Everybody that's on that show is
Wait, what about
brilliant.
that one new show I saw on Netflix, The Floor? Have you seen
Oh,
that?
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it though.
Okay.
And so I am in some Facebook groups for Jeopardy contestants.
Of course.
And so like they'll post like casting, hey, this show is looking for people. And then you can like fill it out. And so I know there's like a Trivial Pursuit show. And so I actually did fill out that application. I haven't heard back yet.
Okay.
Because I would do that one.
How often do people just randomly walk up to you and ask you?
No one has
question.
ever done that.
Really?
Like since I've been on Jeopardy?
Yeah,
Mhm.
just
No.
like she's like Google. She just has all the answers.
Like people will do that at work because they know.
Okay, I
Like-
got one for you. Here you go,
Okay.
Allison.
Okay.
Lewis and Clark. Lewis served as a secretary for what U.S. president?
Who is Thomas Jefferson?
Unreal. Wow.
Well,
Wow.
that's the only good question you had.
Yeah.
Well, I am from, Dillon, Montana. It's kind of like the heart of Lewis and Clark country.
Okay.
That's right. That's right. Okay. What tribe lived around Dillon that Sacagawea was from?
The tribe is Shoshone, right? Yeah.
Okay. She
Okay.
knows everything.
Okay.
That's the only thing I
Okay.
gathered growing up in Dillon.
Wow.
That's it.
Got a lot going on there. You know that.
It's true.
Allison, this was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and telling us your story.
Yeah.
And
Congratulations.
yeah, congratulations.
you.
A
Thank
dream
you.
and
Yes,
made a little
it
bit of
is.
money on the way and
Yes,
That's
it's
so
very
cool.
cool.
memories last a lifetime.
Yeah.
Some really cool stories.
It is
So,
very
no,
cool.
thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us know when you're on your next one, and then we'll bring you back and we'll talk all about it. Because that was
good.
fascinating. I loved it.
Good.
All right.
Good.
All right, see you next time.
What's up, Missoula? This is Nick Balla, producer of the Missoula Podcast. We truly appreciate you hanging out with us as we dive into the stories that make our city special. If you could do us a quick favor and follow the show wherever you are listening, whether that's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, maybe you're watching on YouTube, so hit that little subscribe button. It really helps us out. Head on over to www.themissoulapodcast.com for more information, and we'll see you next week.